Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Divulgence. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Order of Nine Angles, as well as some other interesting stuff. I hope everyone had a wonderful Halloween. I am super excited to welcome back my friend William Ramsey. He has a podcast called William Ramsey Investigates, which I am still addicted to. He puts out episodes almost every day or every second day. He brings on awesome authors and filmmakers and artists, and they talk about a wild array of different stuff. And they always have great conversations. So I definitely recommend checking that out, as well as he has a bunch of great books that I've personally read and enjoyed, as well as one we're going to talk about today called Global Death Cult, The Order of Nine Angles, Adam Waffen, and the Slaughter of the Innocents. I just finished this one myself, and I thought with Halloween coming up, it's a pretty scary topic. So I thought, let's get William on. Let's talk about his book. He also has some updates that he has brought into my attention, as well as he's put on his podcast. So I thought this would be a wonderful opportunity. So if everyone could just help me welcome my good friend, William Ramsey. Hey, William, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, Jordan. It's great to be with you.
Awesome. No, I'm so happy for you to come back. I finished your book like I said I would. So I thought, hey, let's get you on. Let's talk about it. So before we do that, I will get the ball rolling by announcing that we're going to do a giveaway for your book. So we got 2 signed copies, again, of Global Death Cult that we're going to give away. So if you want to enter in for that contest, you can send myself a message, Divulgence Podcast, on any of the social media channels, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Twitter would be the easiest one. You can just send me a quick DM or Instagram. So if you want to enter for that, make sure to do that. I'll let everyone know when the timeline is. I'll probably do it sometime around maybe a week after the episode's posted, but I'll make sure to communicate that with everyone on social media. So yeah, it's an awesome book. It'll be a signed copy, brand new, and I know you're going to enjoy it. So definitely make sure to check that out. So can you tell me, William, what got you interested in the Order of Nine Angles and the other groups that you talk about, and what led you to writing this specific book?
Well, I think it's just because my earlier books, I kind of looked into the occult. I was looking into Crowley, the Smiley Face Killers, and really, I think somebody had mentioned the Order of Nine Angles on one of my YouTube videos, but it just passed over it. And it wasn't really until a researcher by the name of Igor Sarsky, who was also a Smiley Face Killer kind of researcher, reached out to me in August of 2020. And I've done 3 interviews with him, so people can check those out. And I've included the audio of 2 of those interviews at the back of this book. He talked to me, and so then I was like, oh, this is really fascinating. There's a lot of overlapping doctrines in this group, the Order of Nine Angles, and a lot of things that just happened really in 2020. There had been recent cases that I include in that happened. One is like Meltzer, who tried to betray his army unit to the ONA, and another guy in Toronto, kind of closer to you.
Yeah.
His name is William von Nudegem. Yeah. And he hasn't even gone to court yet, but he stabbed at least one guy. Well, actually snuck up and slit his throat. It's pretty graphic. Snuck up and slit his throat outside of Toronto, in the suburb of Toronto, and possibly stabbed another guy a week before that who also had a knife injury and was murdered. But he's still going to trial. So those things were happening. So I was like, oh, so this is actually happening in the real world. And the more that I researched it, it opened up kind of this understanding of who the Order of Nine Angles was, but their effect really at a global level, I think, with the advent and growth of transnational communications, internet, pretty much. And so it really piqued my curiosity. So I really kind of dove in. I get as much of the literature as possible. I mean, there's 10,000 pages of like ONA literature. So I really tried to focus on the earliest stuff, the core documents, and the core concepts. And so that was led to this book and how the ONA is influencing things around the world. And it influenced the far right here. It comes out of the far right of England. But it's this one group, Adam Waffen, that really is fairly new, that started in 2015. Some of the ideas of the ONA have clearly seeded through this right-wing group. So it's kind of like occult Nazism or post-Hitler, post-Crowley, kind of National Socialism, occultism. And I thought it was very I thought my reason to writing this book is because it was kind of a set of novel ideas that were secretive and not really public. So my goal with the book was to try to as cogently and clearly as possible lay out where it's from, the history, what their ideas are, and their effects to the present day.
Wonderful. There's so much interesting stuff. I'm sure we'll touch on as much as we can today, but just to add to the Atomwaffen point, so in your book, it's translated in German to nuclear weapons. That's correct?
Correct.
And just to make sure I got this correctly, is Atomwaffen a cell, or another term you use in your book quite a bit is Nexion, I believe?
Right.
So is that a Nexion or a cell of the Order of Nine Angles?
It's an excellent question, and I don't think it's been confirmed that
Or
it
hasn't
is.
been confirmed.
Right. It hasn't been confirmed, but there are overlaps with this thing. But there is a group that has overlapping things that just really came out, and it is part of the updates that I really just updated. The final update was this morning, or it got approved this morning by Amazon. But there's a group that literally is a Nexion of the ONA titled Temple of Blood out of South Carolina. And it's run by a guy named Sutter, Sutter, who publishes a lot of the occult doctrines called Martinet Press. And a lot of those books that came out of Martinet Press have influenced Atomwaffen and some of the main core documents of the ONA. Some of that literature, like the Sinister Tradition, there's been pictures of these guys in it. And definitely you can tell that in their postings that other researchers have accumulated that these guys have done it. And there's a lot of right-wing researchers. There's guys, some names I don't really want to expose it. If you look into it, there's been other journalists who've done really good work. I mean, I got to tell you, some I've reached out to, but so they've acquired these pictures off of their social media. These guys, a lot of these guys who are in the Atomwaffen are holding up books of the, Sinister Tradition. So it's really fascinating to see the growth of this group come out of 1980s UK National Socialism, and just with the growth of the internet and easily obtainable publishing, infuse their ideas into the far right here in the United States.
And the Atomwaffen is, I mean, whether it is a part of the ONA technically or not, it would be they're located in the United States or North America primarily, I think.
Well, the original member was from Tampa, Florida. So his name was
Brandon Russell.
Brandon Clint Russell, right? Who recently just got up. This is my update. So I published in May. The original version was in May 2021, and in August he got out of jail. So he served his 4-year sentence for bomb making, but he was involved with his sidekick, who's still in jail, and then 2 early members of Atomwaffen that I write about in the book were murdered by his associate, and their names were Himmelman and Onishchuk. And I think that they were from kind of Northeast. So I think they were kind of Northeast members of Atomwaffen, which really wasn't that big. I don't think that big of a group, but their ideas, I mean, they got inspiration from other Nazis in America, Charles Manson. So they kind of picked kind of lunatics. This guy right here, there's Denton. He recently got arrested, so he's been in jail. He was involved in a SWAT.
In your book, yeah.
So in that Atomwaffen, there's that sign of it's kind of like the fascist laurel leaf with the 3 things there. And they consistently wear these skull masks, do a lot of training out in the thing, and this race war. And they're into their kind of thing that was different than really the ONA was pamphleteering, or really putting up posters. And I think one of the ways to get into the group was to go and put Atomwaffen posters at college campuses or somewhere. So there's actually videos of some of these guys putting posters up like this. If you see this from the thing, the Day of the Rope is kind of their kind of fantasy, where if they come to power, they're going to hang everybody in.
Jeez, those are graphic.
Super dark, super nihilistic,
very
post-apocalyptic.
Like, it's just, if I were to see those up, it's not it definitely gives off a bad energy too. Like,
I mean, here's the guys in front of Auschwitz. So they're poor Auschwitz. I wrote about that guy too. If you go down one a little bit more, it's right there, that guy in the prison garb. His name was, he killed Blaise Bernstein. It was, yeah, I can't remember his name offhand. But yeah, it'll come to me. But yeah, so these guys, these were some of the main people who were involved in killing. But this guy, if you go look, he dyed his hair black, but in his regular kind of light hair, you can see him in my opinion, it's him in a lot of Adam Waffen videos. And I suspect that's why he dyed his hair, as he was trying to confuse researchers. Woodward, his name is Woodward. He's actually in Orange, California right now in jail because of COVID. A lot of these guys' trials got delayed. So his was one of them. But if you scroll up a little bit, these two guys right here. So this is Clint Russell, neo-Nazi who converted to Islam, BuzzFeed News. So they're holding the Nazi flag and the Adam Waffen flag. I think his buddy's name was Anders, who killed the two guys. But you can see that there's these concepts that you wouldn't associate with the old Nazis, but the new neo-Nazis have similar ideological views like a very radical Islam. So radical Islam now is kind of acceptable, and that's kind of one of the things that happened with the ONA doctrines, is that you're just infiltrating, groups. And that's really what the original founder in the UK did, Myatt, is he thought these inside roles were very important. So it was like infiltrating groups, and one of the groups he infiltrated was a very terroristic version of Islam. And so that's what happened. That's like some of the similarities you see with Adam Waffen. This is one of them, is this one kid who's the sidekick of the original founder joins Islam. And actually that's what led to the death of Onishuk and Himmelman, is apparently they kept teasing him for being a Muslim. And I think these guys aren't really stable. So he got an AK-47 and shot him in like one of the bedrooms of an apartment in Tampa.
What do you attribute to? I mean, maybe it's just fresh in my mind because I read it in your book, and there seems to be numerous links to these neo-Nazi groups and Islam in some shape or form.
Well, there was always kind of even if you go back to Hitler, he had kind of a sympathy towards certain Islamic groups. Okay. And there was always a connection, like a ideological connection with Turkey. So that was always kind of, I think that's what happened with this post guy Myatt really was somebody who kind of continued that tradition, that the ideas of Islam and Nazism were somewhat similar.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because
but if you have to kind of the kind of ideology of ONA is almost like their belief. I mean, at least if you read it, and even not the Nazi part, but it's about accelerationism and creating chaos, right? Oh, there's that picture. That's what I was talking about.
That's the one. Okay.
Right. So there it is. They were also, the Nazis thought they were Aryans, right? And Iran is Aryan. Iran actually means Aryan. It's just a variance of the word. So Iran, Aryan. So supposedly the Germans came from that area and populated Germany. That's why they always looked east. So they had sympathies for these other groups, certain parts of Islam. And there's a picture, I think, of Hitler talking to the Mufti of Jerusalem, even before Israel was formed in 1948. So
1941.
Yeah, 1941. So if you want to learn about Hitler, I did a 7-part series on my podcast of his psychological analysis from the United States perspective.
Okay, cool.
He was not normal. He was not normal.
Hitler or
Hitler? Yeah.
Well, yeah. We can go on. Yeah.
I mean, they say he wasn't normal, but he's a coprophiliac is really what he was. He had you can get really graphic, but yeah,
sure, man. Yeah. I recently bought a few books on, like, there's one called Blitz and just the war, Nazi and the Reich and all the drugs they were using and stuff.
Drugs, yeah. He was drugged out all the time.
Yeah.
He's a mess.
So there's a lot of stuff that you don't learn in the history books. So I'll definitely check that out. But
yeah, no, it's a 7-part series. I think it was well received. And I think I just read it directly out of it. It was compiled. It was known as the Longer Report. And then it got changed to a new title called The Mind of Adolf Hitler. But what it really was a compilation of all the intel that was put together prior up to 1943 from as many sources, people who knew Hitler, his girlfriends, and they compiled it into I think, a 200-page document with 1,000 pages of notes. So it's very rigorous, and it was done for the benefit. It was, you should see it up there. If you type it in there, it should pop up. You're going too
Is
far
it
down.
is
Yeah,
it on?
it should be one part of it should be on there somewhere. But it was done by Wild Bill Donovan, right? So it was the real prior to this, to the CIA's founding, this group, the OSS, Office of Strategic Services. There you go. Yeah, that's it. Somebody put that up somewhere else. What's that thing? Hami? I don't even know what that is. Click on that link. Oh, well. Yeah, so that's part 3. So it's 7 parts.
Cool. No, I'm gonna check that out for sure, man. Absolutely. I love that stuff.
So I think it's important to kind of see his psychology. Is like he was going to drive everything down, and yeah.
Oh, see,
Anyway, I mean, he couldn't sleep. He was like insomniac, so he had to find help to get put to sleep. And he was screaming, like, there he is in the corner. He was seeing entities or Satan in the corner. Like, this is not a normal guy. Anyway, that's a whole story. But it kind of does tie into this group, because there's this view of Hitler as an avatar, or I view him more as Antichrist, right? But some of these people view Hitler as like an avatar.
Sure.
Savitra Devi, there's a guy Guerrero from like South America. These people idealized Hitler as some kind of, like I said, an avatar for their racist ideas. And so I think this group does too, the ONA. They time history from the birth of Hitler. And you can say Hitler kind of almost was a German messiah, or tried to take the place of Christ in an antichrist position. There's some elements of what he did in Germany where he was trying to transpose himself with Christ. So there's a 1,000-year Reich, right? That was supposed to be the 1,000 years of paradise or whatever for the Reich, but that's supposed to be the 1,000 years of reign when Christ returns, right? So there's weird similarities there. And they actually mentioned that in the psychological report of Hitler, that he was trying to put himself out as kind of like the German Messiah. You see all those by himself, where he's all by himself, just totally alone in all those public meetings. Like, anyway, so that's actually this group, the ONA. Like, so the year of Phi N is the year of rejoicing for the birth of Hitler. So that you'll see that go through the ONA. And I mean, we can get into a whole nother. It's not within my book, but the occultism suffuses the Nazis from very beginning to the terrible end. So
yeah,
it's another story. That's a whole.
I mean, just in general, the occult and the Nazis, like I was saying, that stuff interests me so much. Like, there's so many books and topics I want to get into.
There's one, if you want to listen to a really good one, was Eric. I can't remember his last name. He's a professor, but I interviewed him about his book called Hitler's Monsters.
Okay.
And it was, and that would, you can find that on my podcast. Oh God, what's his last name? Anyway, really a great scholarly kind of I think he called it crypto history. So he's the opposite of crypto history, where people kind of just make sweeping statements. But the real history is actually disturbing enough. But Hitler's Monsters, yeah, I think it was a paranormal analysis of Hitler's Third Reich is the subtitle.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. I'll have to check that out for sure.
I gotta figure out his name. It's bothering me. And all the people who kind of surrounded him pretty much were monsters. Eric Kurlander.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The people he kept close. My last episode, or a few episodes ago, I did one on Camp X in Ontario in Canada, the secret agent training camp, and it was a great episode. And there's a tie to, I forget his name, but he was called the Butcher of Prague, and he was actually the guy who concocted the final solution idea. And
I don't remember. Was he killed in Prague? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah. So the two agents that they trained to go get him were trained not far from Toronto, not far from where I live. And
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's really interesting. Really interesting.
I think that guy was supposed to be, if Hitler died, he was gonna run the Reich. I can't remember his name now.
Okay.
I see his face. He has like a, yeah.
If it's the same guy that we're talking about, then they used to call him the Butcher of Prague, a Reinhard Heydrich.
Yes, that's it, Heinrich.
Yeah. You should check the episode out, but I'll send you.
Yeah, I'll check it out. That sounds interesting.
I'll send you a copy of one of the books. It's crazy. Last time I was in Thunder Bay, I went to a used bookstore, and there was a copy of his name's Lynn Philip Hodgson, a copy of his book for $5. Bought it, read it, reached out to him, and yeah, it was great.
That's
and
cool, man. That's
really
awesome.
cool, because I know you talk about with your books and Crowley and stuff, and how Ian Fleming mixes in. So he mixes in at Camp X too, and that's where he gets a lot of his James Bond ideas, and he meets the guy who writes Goldfinger there. And it's great, man. It's William, you should check it out. It's really interesting. Whether you read the book, I'll see if I should have an extra copy now. I'll see.
You should ship it to me. Yeah.
But yeah, man, I will.
I'll send you my
check
address.
the episode out or listen to it. It's cool. It's really cool.
I'll listen to it. Yeah, I'll listen to it. Sounds like something that I would enjoy listening to.
Yeah, it's cool. And he's setting up a museum. And yeah, anyways, not to get off topic, but we'll
kind of overlaps. It's the web of history.
Yeah, so it's just cool, the Ian Fleming thing. So I'd like to do an episode eventually on him and just connect stuff that you've written on.
Well, it's interesting because you're bringing up the Nazis, but I did another interview about Otto Skorzeny, who was the Devil's Disciple. His name was Stuart Smith.
Okay.
I actually remember that author's name. But he said that one of Fleming's characters was based off of Otto Skorzeny, who was really kind of a commando sidekick of Hitler, involved in all kinds of subterfuge. Even post-war, too, he was involved. And he worked. I mean, it's crazy, but he ended up working for the Mossad and ratting out ex-Nazis. So he was a very tough customer. He was a very tough person to know, I think. But it was just interesting. There's another tie into Fleming. I didn't know. But Fleming used real characters. So Le Chiffre was Crowley.
Yeah, so I've heard you talk about that before, about connections he's made. And then when I interviewed Lynn, and you make, like, I'm sure in the book you'll read and you'll make the connections, but the ones that we highlight in the podcast, there's no, like, I would just like to start analyzing some of those older Bond movies again, because based on the connections that were made in the podcast we did, he definitely likes to write about what he knows, who he knows, what he's done. So, well,
here's another one. Here's another addition. So I know that all of those poker scenes were taken from those vignettes were taken from experiences that Fleming had in Portugal, playing across from Nazi officers, right? So that kind of head-to-head thing all comes from that. But also, there's a scene, at least in one of the early movies, he goes into Le Cirque Club, and Le Cirque was known as this fascist, post-war fascist group. You can go and read about Le Cirque. So he's referencing all that stuff in his books. It's not purely from his imagination. It's from his experience. And you can read my book, Children of the Beast, and there he was very much involved in World War II and luring Hess to the UK through subterfuge and all kinds. So I think there's a movie coming about one of the operations he was involved in, which was faking the landing at Sicily or something by dropping a dead body in the Mediterranean with fake documents, hoping that the Germans would think it was real. And apparently they did think it was real. Now, Fleming was involved in that. So you can see that all of that stuff plays out into his books that, people just see the movies, and typically the book is telling you the real story. The movie kind of has
right.
It's almost like a visage of really what the author's putting in.
Yeah, you know what? And on that point, it's funny because, and again, you'll hear about it in the episode, but Paul, I believe his name's Paul Dane. He's the screenwriter for Goldfinger, and then he did the classic Planet of the Apes movies, and he's pretty well known in Hollywood after the war. Apparently, when it came to the book versus movie thing, Goldfinger, the movie, really was one that really people were like, okay, geez, this is where the movie is way better, and it hits on so many interesting stuff. So it's just interesting that there's that connection there, and it's so. Well,
I mean, so many books. I mean, there's a lot of films out there that you can learn about what the author was really telling before the screenplay got written. If you read the books, like if you want an insight in 2001: A Space Odyssey, you got to read Clark's version even before you watch the movie. He reveals so much stuff in that book, and by not having that book out at the same time the movie came out, it made Kubrick's version much more mysterious. But it really is kind of the blueprint of 2001. And so I believe if you know what you're reading. Same thing about Fight Club. You got to read Palahniuk's book.
That's a big one.
Yeah, very important to read that book to understand what you're watching. So
yeah,
people almost need to watch these movies with their books in hand.
The decoder, book, Fight Club's got a lot of. You got to do a lot of decoding there. I've heard you talk about it, or other people, with the smiley faces and the 9/11 connections and just the whole New World Order connections. Like that was huge. So, you and me, we've even talked about it, I think, in our second episode when we talked about West Memphis 3, just the whole, once Hollywood throws the story on the chopping block, right. You know what I mean? They're like a surgeon with permission to cut off whatever they want. They just have
No way. I mean, those three documentaries is what most people know about the West Memphis 3, and it's an atrocity. Actually, it's a real atrocity too, because even that lady, who I can't remember her name either, but she worked at HBO. She was like a well-recognized, kind of lauded documentary producer, but those were just a disaster. I mean, they were a social mind rape, in my opinion. So
sure. Yep.
Nobody, and that's kind of how Hollywood is. Everybody pats each other on the back, even when they put out deceptive trash, garbage.
Yeah, no, it was we spoke about it, and then Metallica got involved. They put their music in it, and then it just became a pop culture force, basically, and it just took a turn for the worse. And whether it was the right intentions or not, some people had the right ones, some people didn't. And
well, I mean, there's other people put other values over their, the quest for truth, or trying to be honest. They're trying to get money, get their next movie financed, so they're going to put this one out. They want the fame, they want adulation. So maybe some of these other values are much more important to them than actually relating things. That's the whole thing about a documentary that's deceptive, is some of these documentaries are pure propaganda. They're not documenting squat. Like if you look at Al Gore's, what is it? What was the name of that? The
Inconvenient Truth.
Inconvenient Truth. It's just pure propaganda. Like all the stuff that he predicted, none of it came true.
Yeah. That one took years for people to start.
They scratched their head when it came out, but now it's like, what did he just say? Did it happen? This didn't happen. I think Miami was supposed to be underwater in 2018 or something like that. I have to go back and look at it, but nothing he said came true. Anyway, so that's the whole. If you want to be deceptive, you can sheath your deception in these labels, like a documentary. Oh yeah, I'm making a documentary. I'm not going to document anything, but I'm going to call it a documentary.
Yeah, and growing up, when I started getting interested in learning stuff, I thought, I'll watch movies that are about true stories or based on true stories. And it's like, okay, well, Hollywood chops it up and whatever. And then, I'll watch documentaries. And then it's like, they're biased and they can get chopped around and taken out of context. So now it's like,
you don't, right? No, you make it.
If you want to know, you gotta be actively learning and paying attention about these things. You can't just watch one thing or read one thing, really.
And the other thing is, you don't really even know what the agreements are of the director. He may not even have final say on his movie. A lot of those guys don't have final say. So they may have tons of information and stuff, and then like, well, I made it, and some executive says, well, this is the way we're going to. Yeah, you're done. We're going to chop it and edit it the way we want for the narrative we want that's going to sell the most.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So you don't really know. You don't know what some of those deals are going on in the back room. Unfortunately, you can even look at Kubrick and Eyes Wide Shut. We don't even know what his real intent was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little muddy. Yeah, with respect to figuring that one out.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. 1999 was really a high water year for kind of like occult, elite exposure films. You had Eyes Wide Shut, Fight Club, The Ninth Gate, and what was the one with Schwarzenegger, which really was kind of campy, but they put in stuff like they foreshadowed 9/11 in that. I think it was End of Times. Do you remember that one, where the demon pops up at the church?
Yeah.
So those are just four that I can think off the top of my head. I think there was a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay.
There were Yeah, there was a lot of, kind of revelation of the method type stuff. Like if you want to quote Hoffman, I don't know who Hoffman's quoted.
What was I going to say? Shoot.
Anyway.
Oh, shoot. What was I going to say? I forget what I was going to say to your point. It'll come back to me. Oh, yeah. Well, just a side topic. I'm going to eventually, somewhere down the line, I'm going to look more into these Bond films with Ian Fleming, and maybe we can get together because Jay Dyer breaks down movies and he does the Bond movies a lot. So maybe he'd be a good guy to bring on and talk about that with. That'd be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So again, with regards to the Order of Nine Angles and all these different cells and what was the term? Nexicon?
They call it Nexian.
Nexian.
It's really just an invented word. It's like he just made up a lot of the terminology Maya did, but Nexian was kind of his idea of nexus, kind of a nexus between what we would call kind of the temporal or spiritual world. He would call the causal and acausal world.
Okay, so was he using that term essentially interchangeable with a cell or a group?
I think so. I think a Nexian is a cell, but I think that's kind of like the part of the power of the new terminology is it's not referenced as clearly to the concept of a cell. Because if you heard of like a terrorist cell or a communist cell, so I think using the term Nexian kind of it occults its meaning, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, it does. Yeah, it does. And in your book, you give a great snapshot as to how far and how wide the reach is of this general group, which has been broken up into these nexions or these cells.
They're all over Italy,
Italy, US, UK, Canada, Brazil, Egypt, Australia, Ireland, Spain, South Africa, Serbia, Russia, Iceland, Poland, Portugal, Sweden, Chile, and I think I'm leaving a couple out, but
some of those are just wistful kind of hints that somebody was there on the internet or the Wayback Machine. Like I don't really know what goes on underneath the surface. I have no idea. Yeah. But those websites are there, which indicates somebody is up to no good in those countries. And I've caught communications between the heads or leaving statements or likes in England and so forth. And even some of these guys, like we mentioned, Brandon Clint Russell, who was going to the UK and talking with other kind of right-wing groups. So they're internationally communicating. No, in my mind, no question. The total extent, I don't know.
Like when you look up some of these groups or in your book, some of the pictures that you include, and you see them posing with flags and masks and this and that, and some of them seem more willing than others to kind of get out there in the spotlight or be a bit more risky with their identity. I'm sure there's a big group of people that just they keep it on the down low, very quiet, very incognito, very occultic and esoteric and coded, right? And
right. That's the whole thing. It's like some of those people, there was a college, I think there was a Nexian at Oxford. So you're talking about, not people in a trailer park or something like that. You're talking about educated, intelligent people who are
exactly.
So you don't know. That's one of the doctrines within this is to kind of like trench, or the part of the group is the purpose of the group is to keep yourself camouflaged. You're not supposed to reveal you're in the ONA.
Exactly. Yeah. So if that's why they utilize this cell technique, and I don't know what kind of means of communication they use, but there's so much more options these days. And
there's in some of these leaders you can tell that they're using PGP keys, right? That they have pretty good privacy and they're using it because they're putting their key out there. So what do they need privacy for, and what are they encrypting?
Right. Just goes into your point about their intelligence. Some of these guys are, they're educated, they're trained.
The guy who formulated this group is intelligent. He writes in other stuff, and he supposedly translates some Greek, and he's integrating these concepts. There's clearly Jungian concepts in this group, Nietzschean. So he's able, I mean, he's smart enough to have that kind of cultured grasp, a kind of a broader grasp of philosophical, cultured ideas from different from different places, ancient Greece, and integrating those ideas into this, and renaming them kind of old English terms and stuff. So they're kind of new, different terms that you see. One of the interesting things that I came across in this is the bat that they have, that the ONA kind of used the term, and you'll see that bat in some of the Atomwaffen flags. So you can tell they know exactly what they're doing. They know it's specific to the ONA. It's not from some other cult group, Crowleyism or LaVeyan or Aquinan or something. It's straight out of the ONA.
And so this Brandon Russell that
Brandon Clint Russell started Atomwaffen.
Atomwaffen. I'm sorry. Okay. And who was
the guy who started ONA? His name is Myatt, M-Y-A-T-T.
Yeah, David Myatt. Correct. Okay. So is he? I'm going to pull it up here. Is he the one that would have invented this symbol, or is this symbol?
No, Myatt came up with that symbol, or somebody in the early formation of the ONA.
Okay.
And that's kind of their 9 angles. It's supposed to be, but it's in my book. I kind of explain what the symbol means to them. The symbol means to them like the planets, at least from its original thing, was the 5 planets, and then there's four kind of portals. Like there's a human portal and dark portal, and the whole idea of the group is to try to presence these dark gods that are somewhat similar to. Yeah, that's, I covered him in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, these portals where you're supposed to presence these gods into your whole, existence.
Wow. Yeah, I'll have to look more.
And that's important. You can see the chant right here. You can go to his YouTube channel and see the whole kind of ONA temple. It's all specific to the ONA. The triangle there, the crystal triangle he's got right there. He's got the symbol. He has the light. This is all ONA stuff. It's all specific to ONA.
That's crazy. It's unbelievable.
And the thing is that they probably 999 or 9,999 would see that and just go, that's not for me. But if they get 1 out of 10,000 and they think that this is legit, that's the Sonnenrad, right? The same thing that was in Wewelsburg Castle. That was one of Crowley's henchmen. But yeah, you get 1 out of 10,000, and you're off to the races. This person thinks that this is how he's going to get power, how he's going to learn. He's got a system already, a septenary system he's got to go through, and
it just matters what extent they believe it and what extent they're going to take it to,
right?
And let others perceive that they believe it, right? Like, right. There's so many levels, but
that could be for any ideology, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Islam. Like somebody could be a lackadaisical Jew or Jewish person or Islam, but some people are like, this is my life. I am a rigid, ultra orthodox ONA member or Christian or Mormon or whatever. So if they get one that's super orthodox and just says, this is my identity, that person is a lunatic, like a literal lunatic, because of some of these things they're supposed to do take place at full moons and stuff.
Right.
So yeah.
Have you? Once I read your book, I wanted to pull this one out again and give it a read. Have you read Lords of Chaos?
No, but I'm somewhat familiar with some of that stuff. Yeah, and I've actually been doing a lot of. Well, there's a guy I know who's doing a lot of research. He lives in one of the Nordic countries and knows the languages, and he says the ONA presence or some of its ideas are definitely have been seeded throughout the farthest right, the kind of satanic Nordic right stuff.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, you can see that picture there. There's Crowley right there. Mayhem Singer's ominous knife play. Click on that there. Oh, that one. Yeah. If you can open that picture, there's Crowley, Stalin.
This one here?
Yeah, that's Aleister Crowley.
Oh, there we go.
That's actually the background of my first book. It's him. He's actually making what's known as the hand sign of Pan, so that's the horns of Pan.
Oh, okay.
He's a god in between the twin towers.
Crazy.
There's LeVay. Yeah, so there.
Yeah, no, those names. Those names. They always seem to crop back up at some point. So there were a few names that I remember in the Lords of Chaos book that briefly come up, whether I think some of these Adam Waffen guys or ONA guys follow some of
it's
these.
Varg Virknes or whatever.
That's one of them, Varg. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
And I included like 2 people referencing him in my book.
Right? Yes, so, you do. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was one was Suvannarath, who was the Canadian attempted mass slayer.
I believe it was. Yeah,
in Halifax.
Twitter account there, and he's
And I think the other one was also Canadian. It was Von Nudegem reference Mark too.
Okay.
So these guys are in that community. They have terrible. These are extreme ideologies. It's bad. But Suvannarath is an interesting case because she uses that term culling, which is a predominant word in ONA.
Yeah,
which actually
bring that up.
Which ties into. Have you followed the Petito case here in the States, where the blonde girl ended up getting killed?
I think so. No, Petito.
Well, yeah, her name was Petito, I think. I didn't watch a lot of the TV surrounding it, but it was like on the screen all the time.
Yeah, Petito.
Yeah, her name was Brian Laundrie was her boyfriend.
Yeah,
but he was into Chuck Palahniuk books, and one was called Lullaby, and there's actually pictures of him with his book. And do you know what the central theme of that book is?
What?
It's about culling. Like he says, this one lullaby that he culls human beings. Right, that's the actual word that's used. And the reason I came across that is because, do you know who Dog the Bounty Hunter is?
Oh, I am the dog.
Right. So the Dog the Bounty Hunter said that he thought Laundrie was either a serial killer in gestation or something was going on, and that he had a weird taste for music, a weird taste for books. Jeez. And this is what Laundrie wrote on Instagram. He said, "The effing craziest out of all Chuck's books on my shelf. I can't fathom how he must have written this one. I love to preach all of the insane twists and turns, but all I can say is that I'll never forget the name Rant Casey or Green Taylor Sims." So they used to read out Chuck Palahniuk's book. It's crazy. Guess where Chuck shows up? He shows up on Joe Rogan, like last week or the last couple of days.
Who did?
Palahniuk.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting.
I'm gonna have to look up this Petito case a bit more.
Yeah, it's Gabby Petito was her name.
Yeah, I got it right.
It was all over the news here. It was kind of like people were commenting on it because like she fit that prototype of like a blonde girl in distress. So
yeah,
it seemed to like people.
That's what I'm seeing.
Identified with her. Yeah, there's a lot. See the Haunting novel.
Yeah,
yeah, there it is. See, yeah, I haven't seen this right here, but yeah, there's a lullaby. That's fairly recent, October 11th.
Demonic World, Twisted Books, Chilling Art, Before the Murder. So did he, like, hey, spoiler alert, but did he kill Petito?
I guess that's
is that kind of the...
I think that's what they think is that he's the prime suspect.
Going on? Whoa.
He's the prime suspect, and then he went and supposedly killed himself.
Wow, and he's into some stuff.
Yeah. Sure, that's exactly what I think. I actually just quoted that from right there. I quoted that love of darkness part.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, go up. So you go scroll up a little bit. It says, "Are you a witch? Do you believe in magic? Are a fan of magic?" That's the book description. Interesting. Pocket Guide Witches is for you.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I'll have to look more into that because that's yeah, he's into some stuff. Serial killer books, insane twists. Yeah. And then you said he's into Crowley and whatnot too. Eh?
I don't know if he's into Crowley. See, there's the lullaby book that he's with, pictured with. That's Palahniuk's book, yeah.
Huh.
They were at Rant. Wow, yeah.
There it is again. Jeez. He loves that book. He loves taking pictures of that book. Oh, yeah,
apparently they had kind of a very rocky relationship or something like that. Anyway, just to tie into that word culling. So
Yeah, no, that's a big part of the ONA and of these groups, right? Is culling and human
Mhm.
sacrifice. So yeah, they clearly take it very seriously. Um, and I mean, there's a good part near the start of your book that talks about the human sacrifice and whatnot, and not well, almost like I think at one point they're talking about like the etiquette or whatnot of human sacrifice or
Right. Yeah, it's a good word. There is according to them, there is an etiquette. Like you're supposed to do certain test the opfer before you kill it.
yes, oh yes, and that is another term, the Opfer, right?
All right. It's a
Oh,
German term, German word for sacrifice.
right, and that's OFPER or
OFPER, correct. Yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, O for yeah, culling, Mexion. So those are some terms that come up in your book that were new to me. So those are um, definitely added into my occult dictionary now for sure. So let's see what else. What are there any specific for the people that do read the book and whatnot and who haven't heard your recent episode? Are there any? Can you bring up maybe just a few of the significant updates that
Absolutely. I mean, I think one is
were interesting?
this kid Daniel Hussein, who has a tie to the ONA through his interest in Become a Living God. And he was supposedly posting on this Balg website, which is Become a Living God acronym, which was run by E.A. Koetting. And so he went out at night and killed these two kids. He made some blood pact with a demon who thought he was going to give him money. And I think he saw there's a lot of these guys are on the spectrum of the, Asperger's or whatever.
Sure.
So he apparently is one of them. He just got sentenced. I think his sentence, he was found guilty, but his sentencing was delayed in the UK to determine his mental competency.
Okay.
But these are cases that just really happened. But this guy, E.A. Koetting, turns out, according to one journalist, which you can find out in my book, he was providing information or writing stuff for the Temple of Blood, which is a
Yep.
known Nexian of the ONA.
Right.
So there's a two steps from the Temple of Blood to this kid, Daniel, who's saying he was young. So that's kind of one of the updates. And I've added some of the other stuff. Let's see, I added there's all of these recent events, these kind of young, 17, 18-year-old boys or men who have been immersed or starting to get this satanic literature, and they're all being taken to court. And you can't name their name by law in the UK. So I've referenced some of those things. I don't even know their names, but they're reading, satanic Temple of Blood stuff. There was also two killings which happened in Russia. They actually happened back in 2015, but they just got caught. So that was an interesting addition. It just showed kind of the global reach of the ONA. So I included that in the book. And then also really kind of which was big news and which was alleged even before this event happened, which is that one of these guys who ran the Temple of Blood, his name was Sutter or Suter, I can't figure out how to pronounce his name, but he was a confidential informant for the government. And the one of the attorneys for one of these Atomwaffen guys who got busted and I think is going to jail. I don't know if he's been sentenced yet, but the government told one of the defense things that this guy's gotten, I think, over $140,000, and was a key. It's very important detail is that he was a key informant for these recent arrests that provided probable cause to search some of these people's houses, and they found incriminating. I think the cops found incriminating stuff. So that was an interesting thing. And one journalist who's followed these guys, he added this on his Twitter account. He said, "Quote: Bottom line is this: Martinet Press has been essentially bankrolled by the feds, pumping out a steady stream of extremist lit." And so, I mean, it's pretty incredible because that was one of these things. They have Iron Gates, and there's a guy out of the UK who publishes stuff through the Martinet Press. Really dark stuff. A lot of it that I've quoted in the book, but
Yeah.
it is remarkable to see. That's just one instance. I mean, some people have criticized me for not, and I actually had a criticism on Amazon as a result that my
Yeah,
book
you
is
mentioned that.
my book is fake because I didn't expose government intel traps, and that supposedly they all are. And that cannot be true. If you look at all these events, somebody's using this information to do nefarious deeds by themselves as lone wolf stuff. So you can't say that these are all intel. The actual creation of the ideology may have been, but you can't say that. You could say, but whether that's really, you can confirm that all of these people are government operatives is much harder to ascertain. But I think I can determine some of these groups are not. They didn't get formed kind of natively or whatever, or uniquely. Somebody else probably formed them. But that's up to you. I mean, for me, it's pretty obvious some of these groups are not. They're not made by some young right winger. There's something else going on. Anyway, so I leave it up to the group. It's not my job to really expose.
And that's not the scope of your book either necessarily. So I mean, like for the guy who gave you
that's fine. I don't mind the criticism, whatever, but I don't think it's fair. It's not my job.
Yeah.
But they were actually talking in the far right literature. I'm not going to. I think it's Stormfront. There's a writer for Stormfront who said Suter was an agent before this was disclosed this year. Really, in the last couple of months, that there was disclosed that he was an agent. What they didn't even name his name, but they named something very specific to Suter, and it's suspected to be Suter, is that he had an arrest for having a silencer and a gun that had the not the label, the numbers scraped off of it.
Serial number, yeah.
Yeah, serial number was scraped off, so they know that he was arrested for that. So, and that's actually the exact time that he started operating as a confidential informant, so supposedly, allegedly.
Okay. Gotcha.
So those are some of the updates that I put in. There's a lot more stories. There's this kid, Harry Vaughn. There's all these named kids or young people, 18, 17. So it's very a dangerous kind of environment where these young guys are online and obtaining this kind of neo-Nazi satanic ideas. And it's really kind of unique too. So I think that it's really popped up. I think it's really become much more prevalent in the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, like this guy here, Ryan Fleming, if you don't mind me showing this, it looks like he plays in the NHL or something, right? Like you definitely wouldn't expect something from, like it's so, whether it's their intelligence or their, it's definitely not your.
And he published his stuff through the Martinet Press, which was run by the Temple of Blood. So that's one of the guys who did that. So, and that guy, the supposed confidential informant, is the guy who runs the Martinet Press. So there's a lot of strange stuff going on in there, but you certainly don't want your family to get involved in this. I mean, one kid who was joining Adamwaffen shot his girlfriend's parents, so he murdered those two.
Oh, yeah.
So that probably isn't a government op. Woodard killed some Jewish kid in Orange County, California. So that probably wasn't a government op. There are two guys who died in Tampa, probably not a government op. It was just these guys with these crazy ideas. And I think that it's really kind of a shame. Like there are a couple guys who got seduced by far right ideologies who came out the other side and gave it up. And some of these young kids who died didn't get that chance. So they didn't get a chance to repent or change their life for the better. So that's kind of the shame of that, is like they either died or they lost cause. And if you go back and look at World War II, it was a disaster for everybody. Just 60 million people dead. Like, you want to go back and relive all that stuff, or kind of restart that, even in a small amount? Like, that's your dream. I think it's the dream of a young, naive person. I don't think seasoned people would really ever want to go through the horrors of that. And there's still people alive today. They're still trying some Nazis around, and there's still people who survive the Holocaust.
Yeah.
When the real murder was the real deaths were on the Eastern Front when Hitler made his extermination order for the Russians. Like 1/8 of every Russian died. Like it was just a slaughter. I think that like 20 million Russians died during World War II, and then everything turned back, and the Germans just got brutalized too, like shoved in concentration camps. They got, a lot of them got the same treatment the German people in a general sense. I mean,
yeah.
So it was it's just a disaster. It's a disaster for humanity. So these ideas.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I don't. You got to really watch out. You don't want your kids to be online. If one of your kids or somebody you know is in one of these like at-risk groups, you're much better off having that person be in theater or doing art club or ceramics or getting outside and staying off the computer with and being subjected or being seduced by these bad ideas. And that's really actually the common denominator is a lot of these guys are on the computer a lot. So they've just like almost the outside world has collapsed in on their computer brain. And so being outside, I think, is a much better way to comprehend the world than looking at all this literature online or going to Stormfront or Iron March was another one these guys were all involved in. So, yeah, I mean, that's the way I'd like to kind of sum it up is be careful, stay away. And the other thing is these guys are dangerous. Like they're nihilistic. They kill themselves too. If you look at the history of the kind of Nazis, post-Hitler Nazis, even in the States, like as that Rockwell was killed by one of his own fellow Nazis. And there's another guy named Tomaselli or Tomasini. The same thing. The Nazis killed him off because they all want to be Hitler. So they all kill each other off too. I mean, so it's just seeding the wind, you know. You're just sowing the wind. It's just a waste.
Yeah,
it's just a giant waste. And some of these guys, I mean, yeah.
No, it's awful, William. And like some of these stories, again, I highly recommend the book. And just to bring up two stories in the book that were crazy and bone chilling. One of them was the U.S. Army private Ethan Meltzer. Meltzer, yeah. I mean, do you mind just giving a quick rundown of that story?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the first things that I came across. He was he was in the, I can't remember which service he was, but he was in Italy, and he was sending information back where he was going to betray his own squad to a terrorist attack. And I think he was going to do it and try to blame it on other people, and they caught him. So he actually he's sitting in the MCC in New York City with Ghislaine Maxwell, who goes to trial in November. But yeah, Meltzer, he was going to plan to attack his own unit, and they caught him with this book that all these other guys have, which is the Sinister Tradition. So that's kind of one thing that, that's not Meltzer. But yeah, there's a bunch of other articles. There's another article where you can show the ONA thing. That's another one that's definitely fairly recent.
Yeah, you bring that in your book, I believe.
Yeah, so that's just one example. So that's the ONA, and there's a lot of other stuff. There's a lot of people in the UK and the US are really starting to look into this, and they're mentioning the Order of Nine Angles by name. So there's a prescription, and one of these offshoots of Atomwaffen actually got prescribed, which means that if you join that group in Australia, you get an automatic 10-year sentence. And I think that was Sonnenkrieg Division. So it was Atomwaffen Division, Sonnenkrieg Division, Führer Krieg Division. That's the picture I was thinking about.
Yeah.
So there you have the ONA stuff. Yeah. And the standard skull mask too.
Yeah. And the beret. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, that's crazy. 10 years just for joining. I mean, like, might as well, like, start setting an example. Like, these groups are so dangerous on so many different levels, just the implications of them.
It's dangerous to your family, dangerous to your life, dangerous to,
society.
I mean, some of these kids get mixed up in this. I mean, think of the families. Like, I guess I don't know if you're supposed to be sympathetic to, like, Nazis' families, but
right.
Like, I mean, imagine your kid grows up and becomes a freaking member of Atomwaffen and kills somebody. Like, and you're from a nice kind of middle-class family and you're around. Like, what happened? How does that happen? They got online, they got crappy ideas, they got some person older than them who encouraged them down a dark path. And that's really the new thing. That's the whole thing, is that they're not communicating. And that's the rise of the ONA, is they're not communicating through books, personal, in-person stuff. They're communicating through forums online or some website where somebody contacts somebody and goes, hey, and then the other person educates them about it. So yeah, it's bad. I mean, yeah. So I think it's a warning to everybody. And I'm not really that positive about the future. I think that with the rise of young people online and kind of the social upheavals that we're in, these kind of things, the conflicts and stuff don't drive people to do, generally don't drive people to do, very kind of milquetoast ideas. It drives people crazy, angry, and then they join radical groups. Probably what happened with the Nazis too, is that there was so much destabilization after World War One in Germany, and then the Weimar Republic wasn't that effective, and then the stock market crash and affect Germany, and then people were like, well, who's going to fix things?
Yeah, enough is enough.
Yeah, so we don't want to go through that again. So
no, yeah.
Anyway, my book is up. It's available. The changes have been made. If you want to get my book, you can go to my website, William Ramsey Investigates, or you can get it off Amazon. It's all over the world now. It's being sold in Japan. I have like a weird, it's not that weird. It's great, but I have a little bit of a following in Japan who buys my books. So somebody's distributing. Yeah. Somebody's distributing large numbers of my books in Japan. But my podcast or web podcast is that I put in a lot of good interviews, true crime type interviews, is also William Ramsey Investigates, which you can listen to stuff on a variety of different subjects.
Yeah, and I love it. Your website has all your books, shows your podcast and your videos. Your videos are on Vimeo as well.
5 documentaries on Vimeo, and I'll try to send that to you in the show notes.
Cool. Right on. No, that's great. Thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah.
Again, the book is great, and everyone listening, we're giving away 2 signed copies of Global Death Cult. So make sure to stay tuned on that. I'll give more information through social media. And thanks again for coming, William. I'll look into, once I get back to Toronto, I'll look into that copy of Camp X for you.
Yeah, please do. I'll give you my P.O. box number.
Sweet. And I'll send.
Do me a favor. You should check into that von Nudegem case. If you're in Toronto,
he's
not going to trial yet, but that would be very interesting to see how that progresses. Because I know he's had court appearances, but because of COVID, it's been delayed. But if you're on point, I bet you could find out when his trial is. Typically, you'll be allowed to go.
Yeah, at least I'm gonna look into that for sure, man. So I'll let you know what happens there, and we can cook something up with that. But until then, I will. I'm gonna send out that invite to you for the JFK special I'm trying to put together. But until then, be well, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Okay. Thanks for having me.
Good to take care, my friend. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.